Hi guys, it's me ChazRHD and welcome to the qualifying watch along for the 2019 Austrian Grand Prix here of course at the Red Bull Ring in the Styrian Mountains, and I am definitely looking forward to qualifying today because if you look at the timesheets so far this weekend, it looks as though we are going to have a very interesting battle for pole position between more than two drivers, and also in the midfield things are looking quite chaotic and also very close. So I think we are in for a very interesting and surprising qualifying session today in Austria. Great to have you guys along as always for qualifying again in 2019. Hopefully you guys, no matter where you're on the world and how no matter what's going on, hopefully you are doing very well today on what is for me a Saturday afternoon. Just to clarify something that happened about yesterday. Of course, you know, we had our power issue during the stream. Someone sent in a super chat, I believe, right before the first part of the stream finished because of that power issue. Now, I don't know who that was, but I just want to say if that person is listening, don't worry. I have been told that you have been did super chat my stream, so don't worry. I did recognize it. But if you want to send another one in, then, you know, that's your choice. But I just want to let that person know of that situation. But yeah, qualifying is today. And let's now get into the preview for the next hour of qualifying. But before I do get into the teams, let's first look at the results of practice 3, which ended about 1 hour ago. So here are the results of practice 3. Charles Leclerc was fastest again. Lewis Hamilton second. Valtteri Bottas third. Sebastian Vettel fourth. Fifth, Max Verstappen. Then sixth is Lando Norris. Seventh is Pierre Gasly. Eighth is Carlos Sainz. Ninth, Antonio Giovinazzi. And 10th, Daniel Kvyat. And then outside the top 10, Albon, Hülkenberg, Raikkonen, Perez, Grosjean, Stroll, Ricciardo, Magnussen, Russell, and Kubica. So those are the results of practice 3. And that definitely does offer up an interesting kind of preview going into qualifying. But now let's get into previewing how I think all the teams are going to do. And let's of course start off with Mercedes. Mercedes do have a good car this weekend, but because still they are lacking in power compared to Ferrari, that's why them getting pole position is a lot more under threat this weekend than it was in France, because of course the Red Bull Ring is a power track. So Mercedes, even if they do get pole, it's going to be a tough fight to get pole. And that's exactly, of course, what we want to see in qualifying for pole position, is a tough scrap for pole position. And I think Mercedes are absolutely in for that today. The one interesting thing, though, when it comes to the drivers for qualifying is that if you look at this weekend, Lewis Hamilton has been the better driver this weekend. He really has. In practice 1, I believe he was ahead of Valtteri Bottas. Practice 2, of course, Bottas finished ahead, but Valtteri crashed out and had a couple off-track moments in practice 2. And then in practice 3, Lewis Hamilton finished ahead again. Now, that's not exactly around this track to be expected, because of course Valtteri Bottas around the Red Bull Ring is very good. So don't be absolutely sure. Don't be absolutely sure that Bottas, despite him being very good here, don't be sure that he will be the fastest Mercedes car. I think it will be very close between the two Mercedes drivers, and to be honest, between the top 2 teams and those top 4 drivers, I think it will be very close in terms of lap time in the battle for pole position. But absolutely, when it comes to that battle for pole, Mercedes are absolutely under threat and are in for one hell of a fight. Next up is Ferrari, who, well, they, for the first time since Canada, they are now able to go and get pole position and be right up there fighting first place. And that, of course, for them is very good, and good for us because, of course, we want to see a fight at the very top for pole and of course tomorrow for the race win. Now, I think Ferrari, it's going to be tough for them to get pole because Mercedes are in such great form. Of course, they've won every single race this season. They've been so good. So even if Ferrari do get pole, it will be a very tough fight for them to do so because again, Mercedes are in such good form. But when it comes to Ferrari and getting pole, the only driver I really see likely doing that is Charles Leclerc, because Sebastian Vettel this weekend has quite frankly not been as fast and has been a bit more erratic than Leclerc so far this weekend, because Vettel seems as though he knows he's slower than Leclerc around this track and he's maybe trying to push a bit harder, but yeah, Vettel just doesn't have quite as much pace as Charles Leclerc does at this circuit. This is one of Charles Leclerc's best tracks in the world, so it's not exactly a surprise that Charles Leclerc is so good here, but maybe it is a bit of a surprise that Sebastian Vettel is, you know, a couple tenths down basically over the course of the weekend so far. Hopefully for Sebastian he can improve that, but for Ferrari, if they're going to get pole, I think Charles Leclerc is absolutely the man to get it. And finally, out of the top teams, of course, is Red Bull Racing. Red Bull, the best they can do is 5th and 6th. That's the absolute best they can do. They are nowhere near Ferrari and Mercedes in terms of pace. And they have absolutely no hope of getting anywhere near them. The only way they could beat a Ferrari or a Mercedes is if one of them crashes out or has a reliability issue. That is literally the only way a Red Bull can end up higher than 5th on the grid, because their car aerodynamically, it's not bad, but it's just not good enough right now to be, say, as good as the Mercedes car, but also they don't have the power. They have, right now, you have to say, the worst power unit on the grid. So, because this is a power circuit, they are, of course, going to struggle. And I think, honestly, if they do qualify P5 and P6, I think that will be absolutely fine for them. And I don't think they'll be disappointed at all. But I will say, for Pierre Gasly, he is definitely, because of his lack of pace compared to his teammate, he's definitely under threat from, say, drivers like Lando Norris for a 3rd row start, because again, Gasly at the moment, you have to say, is desperately slow compared to his teammate and way off the pace compared to where he absolutely should be. So Gasly has to be good today, because if he isn't, then I think he is in for a tough Grand Prix tomorrow. But guys, those are the top teams. Let me know in the live chat right now for the next 10 minutes or so. For the top teams, how do you see them performing? Do you think Mercedes are still the team to beat for pole? Do you think Ferrari can absolutely go out there and get pole position? And with which driver do you think is more likely to get it? And for Red Bull, do you think they will qualify on the 3rd row? And where do you think Pierre Gasly is, because of his, again, lack of pace, where do you think he is likely to end up? Let me know in the live chat, and I'll read out as many comments as I can for the next 10 minutes or so, and then of course we'll get on to the midfield. But I just want to say and let you guys know that don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, as there will be a review of qualifying out shortly after this stream finishes in about 3 hours time. And also don't forget to subscribe for the race Watchalong coming tomorrow, because Watchalongs for this weekend's Austrian Grand Prix, this is the only channel on YouTube where you can catch a Watchalong for the Austrian Grand Prix qualifying and also race. So don't forget to subscribe for that. Bottom right of the screen, you can of course do it right there, or go to my homepage, subscribe, and of course hit the notifications bell, and also smash the like button if you want to see content like this continue on the channel, but I'm guessing, as you guys can notice, my throat is not yet in its best condition. I'm sure it will be by qualifying, but I'm going to have a quick drink and then we'll get to your comments. Right, so let's see what you guys have to say about the top teams. By the way, hello to JB. Great to see you. Mysterious Chris says Gasly is more likely to end up in 6th place. Gasly seriously shouldn't be in the Red Bull car. Either he doesn't know how to drive, or the Red Bull isn't the team for him. As I've said, and I did a video on it, 2-3 weeks ago, for me, Pierre Gasly should, at the end of the season, at the latest, he should be dropped from Red Bull because he's not good enough. He is not good enough. Yes, you can say, and I have said, that Max Verstappen has been very, very good this season, but you have no excuses, I'm afraid, to be the gap behind that Gasly has been. You have no excuses to be half a second or 7/10 of a second behind. I'm sorry, there is no excuses whatsoever. So I think Gasly absolutely has to be dropped because he's quite frankly not good enough. And I think the race in France last weekend proved that by him qualifying 9th, not being quick enough to qualify on the mediums, and then finishing on the track P11, but of course got promoted to P10 because of Daniel Ricciardo's penalty. Jim plus X, Chaz's sore throat is so common that I feel like it doesn't sound sore anymore. Yeah. By the way, Francisco, nope, Nib is not going to be on the stream today, but I believe he will be on the stream tomorrow, which of course is great news. I believe he's on the stream tomorrow. I'll have to ask again to see how he is, but I believe he is on the race watch along tomorrow. Right. Let's see some more comments. Steve Greenwood. They gave Bottas over a year to get used to the car. Why not give Gasly the same leeway? Well, there's no comparison to be had because Valtteri Bottas, if you look at his first season at Mercedes, he was still, even though Hamilton was better, he was still close to Hamilton, if not at times faster than Lewis Hamilton. Gasly has not been in that position. Verstappen and Gasly are not even in a competitive battle. Hamilton and Bottas were. If you go back to 2017, Valtteri Bottas in the Drivers' Championship was not that far behind Lewis Hamilton after, 12 races? So there's no comparison to be had. There's absolutely none to be had. And I can guarantee you, if Bottas was Verstappen's teammate, that the gap between Verstappen and his teammate would be massively closer than it has been with Pierre Gasly. Right, let me find some others here. Wakanda Forever. Chazzy, do you think that this will be a four-way fight for pole between Merc and Ferrari drivers? Yes, I think it will, because I think Ferrari do have the pace to get pole, but also because we have such a short lap here, the car differences are not as elongated as they would be at, longer tracks such as Paul Ricard or Spa or tracks like that. So I think definitely we are in for a close battle at the top, and I think the midfield also will be very close in, between P6 and P12 or P13. I think it'll be very, very close in terms of lap time. Right, let me find some others. Finley, how far into the midfield will Gasly qualify? Yeah, it is. It's at that point with Gasly. It really, really is. JB says, I really think Leclerc will get pole. And Bottas will qualify Hamilton. Bottas is a beast at this track. Well, I don't quite know about Bottas, Valtteri Bottas so far this weekend because he hasn't been that great. He hasn't been that great. He's been kind of like Vettel, a bit erratic. The speed at times is absolutely there, but again, has been a bit erratic and a bit inconsistent. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Right, let me find some other comments to do with the top teams. Don't count out Verstappen. I think, well, if you're talking in terms of the top four, I think you have to, because look, at the end of the day, Max Verstappen is very, very good, and I think has so far been the best driver this season because his car has not been at the, say, level that he's put it at times. And I think, again, has been the best driver so far this season. And I did do a video on that, by the way, and you can go and check that out. I uploaded that video about, what was it, a week ago? Just over a week ago. Verstappen's great, and of course, when it comes to qualifying, he is very, very quick, but I don't think he has enough in himself to drag that Red Bull into the second row. Again, unless a Mercedes or a Ferrari driver makes a big mistake or they have some kind of issue. That's the only way I think he can get into the second row. But I will say, if Max Verstappen tomorrow can finish on the podium, that would be an immense result for the team going forward. It really would be an absolutely immense result for the team. By the way, thank you to Count Blast saying sup Jazza, thanks for the stream, no problem. Right, let me find a couple more comments and then we'll get to the midfield that is quite interesting. Eddie Webster says Gasly is used to being a backmarker. Well, I've said, and it is true, that Pierre Gasly has moved into a top car but is still in the midfield. That's not acceptable. It's not acceptable whatsoever. And that's why I've been so critical of Gasly this season, because yes, the Red Bull car at times when it comes to qualifying has not been that good, but he shouldn't be the amount of time off he has been compared to Verstappen in some qualifying sessions. For example, Bahrain, Shanghai, Canada, he should not have been behind Ricciardo, even though he was ahead of Verstappen. We know why Verstappen qualified where he did. And then in France, he should not have been the amount of time off he was. He absolutely should not have been that far behind his teammate. And again, no driver has an excuse to be that far behind their teammate. I don't care how great they are. You have no excuses whatsoever. Right, let me find one more and then we will move on to the midfield. Jason C says yes, Leclerc for pole. There is someone in our Discord that calls Charles Leclerc. That person knows who they are. But right, let me read out this comment from Mysterious Chris and then we'll move on. There is a huge problem with Formula One's grid currently. There is a huge amount of talent, even in F2, but there is very little car spots. Look at Russell, Ocon, Kvyat, Albon, De Vries, Norris, etc. Well, my personal opinion is that whoever wins the F2 championships should honestly go straight into Formula One the next season. I don't think that should even be a debate. And I think, honestly, that would promote, say, having a better grid of drivers, because we have had drivers win the F2 or GP2 title and either not get into F1 at all or have to wait a couple of years to get into F1, such as Jolyon Palmer, Pierre Gasly, Davide Valsecchi. And even though some of those drivers aren't that great, I think honestly they should be moving up to Formula One as soon as, because I think if you win the Formula 2 title, that should be a clear enough sign that you are ready for Formula One. But there you go. Anyway, Let's now get into the midfield, starting off with Renault. Now, Renault this weekend have not been that good. Practice 2, they were right at the back of the midfield, and in practice 3, they weren't really that close to the front of the midfield or really the top 10. So Renault are really struggling this weekend. They really, really are. I think they will improve from what they were like in practice 2. I think they will improve on that, but you have to say, compared to McLaren, they're not anywhere near them. They really are not anywhere near McLaren. McLaren are absolutely, who we'll get onto in a moment, the best team in the midfield right now and at this circuit. So Renault are really struggling, and they've got to go out there and produce a good performance, because Renault, if they don't have for now a good enough car to be beating McLaren, they've still got to be in that top 10 and finishing in the points, so they can keep scoring points and keep up with McLaren if McLaren for now do have that better car. So Renault absolutely today have to get a car into the top 10. They absolutely do, because if they don't, then I think honestly on race day they're going to struggle to get anywhere near the front of the midfield. But by the way, there is some, I wouldn't say it's brand new news to do with Renault, but Nico Hülkenberg has a grid penalty for tomorrow's race. As we knew from last weekend's race, he was going to take a new element on his power unit, and that has now cost him 5 places on the grid. So Nico Hülkenberg has that 5-place penalty. Hopefully for him, he can get into that top 10, so he doesn't have to, work his way through too many cars on Sunday. But I think honestly Renault are probably going to concentrate their efforts on Daniel Ricciardo, because I think Ricciardo, well, without a penalty that Hülkenberg does have, at least Ricciardo can be right in that top 10 from the word go in tomorrow's race. So yeah, I think Renault, if they get a car in the top 10, I think that'll be absolutely fine. But so far, it's not looking that great, honestly. It is, though, looking great for McLaren, who absolutely do have, this weekend, the best car in the midfield. Lando Norris in practice 3 was in P6 and Carlos Sainz was in P8. Now, Carlos Sainz, of course, does have a grid penalty and will start the race tomorrow from the back. So what he does in qualifying won't matter. But for Norris, he really should be in P7 at worst. Maybe P8 if one other car really does perform well. But P7 is where Lando Norris and McLaren have to aim for in today's qualifying session. If Pierre Gasly is still miles off his teammate Max Verstappen, then I think Norris can get onto that third row, no doubt about it. But to be realistic and safe, I'd say McLaren have to aim for P7. But McLaren, you have to say right now, really looking good. And this is, for me, the best McLaren have looked in a long time. Probably in the entire V6 hybrid era. They are that good right now compared to how they have been during this era of the turbo hybrid era. So yeah, McLaren looking great, and hopefully their great form from France a week ago can continue into this weekend. Next up is Alfa Romeo. Alfa so far look as though they can get a car into the top 10, and also they look as though they probably do have the 5th or 6th best car this weekend. It's hard to say though where exactly they are, because again it is so close in that midfield battle between Haas at times, Toro Rosso, Renault. So it is very close, and it is tough to say where Alfa absolutely are, but they look to be, if I was to guess, 5th or 6th fastest in terms of the team running order. So Alfa, I think they will be disappointed for sure if they don't get a car into the top 10. And I think, honestly, that is the aim for Alpha, to get a car into that top 10. And I think they absolutely can. I think that it's most likely to be Kimi Raikkonen, but you never know. Antonio Giovinazzi could do what he did in France and surprise and be great. But most likely, I think it will be Kimi Raikkonen. And hopefully for Alpha, their bounce back from the poor races at Spain, Monaco and Canada will continue. Next up is Haas, who don't look as bad as they were in France and Canada, but they still don't look, say, great or anything special. I think if one of their drivers does get the lap right, I think they can sneak into the top 10, but I think, honestly, it's more likely that both cars will get knocked out in Q2, because I don't think that car right now is really good enough to be, you know, up there with McLaren or anything like that. So I think Haas, again, looking better than France, but not massively better. But also, breaking news has come out in the last hour that Kevin Magnussen will take a 5-place grid penalty for tomorrow's race, because Haas have had to put in a new gearbox for some kind of issue. So, shame for him, but to be honest, it's not really, you know, a big surprise that Haas are continuously having issues, because this season has been very poor for them. So, yeah, not looking great in terms of reliability there for Haas, but pace-wise, they'll be alright, but nothing special. Next up, Toro Rosso. For them, I think the aim has to be, say, with one car getting in the top 12. Of course, Alexander Albon also does have, like Carlos Sainz, a grid penalty for new elements on his power unit, and he will start at the back with Carlos Sainz. So, Albon, we can basically forget about in terms of qualifying. But for Danny Kvyat, I think if he can, again, qualify in the top 12, I think he'll be happy with that, because I don't think Toro Rosso are expecting to be in the top 10. But I think a top 12 finish would be absolutely fine for them, because, of course, if you start just outside the top 10, you get to start on the tyres you want to, and that could be better for Toro Rosso in starting the Grand Prix tomorrow. So, yeah, top 12 for Toro Rosso, and I think that will be good enough. And the final team in the midfield is Racing Point. Now, Racing Point look to be slightly better than they were in France, but they're still probably at the back of the midfield in terms of speed, most likely, especially with Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll will definitely get knocked out in Q1. There is no doubt about that whatsoever. But the good thing for Racing Point is, if their drivers can do great in qualifying today, because of the penalties for Magnussen, Hülkenberg, Sainz and Albon, and we know that Racing Point on race day are very strong and they always climb, you know, 3 or 4 positions, Racing Point could be in for a point tomorrow. They really could, because, again, of the penalties for Magnussen, Hülkenberg, Sainz and Albon. So, as long as they can qualify, say, 14th and 15th, around that area, and then, say, if those 4 drivers of penalties are ahead of them, then they should be in for a good race tomorrow. So Racing Point, I think will be definitely happy with their starting position for the race tomorrow. But if they can have a good qualifying, then I'll make it, of course, even better. And then finally is Williams, who are at the very back. But guys, for the next 10 minutes or so, let me know in the live chat. For the midfield, where do you think they will be? For Renault, do you think they are going to struggle like they have so far this weekend? For McLaren, do you think they can get Lando Norris onto the 3rd row of the grid? For Alfa Romeo, do you think they can get a car in the top 10? For Haas, do you think they can get a car in the top 10? For Toro Rosso, the same. And for Racing Point, Do you think, because of the penalties for other drivers, that they could possibly be in a good starting position for the race tomorrow? Let me know in the live chat. And for the next 10 minutes or so, I will read out your comments when it comes to the midfield. And then after that, I will get into my top 3 predictions for qualifying today in Austria. But again, I'll have a quick drink and then we'll get on to your comments. Right, so let's see what you guys have to say about the midfield. Let me just come to your comments. Racing Point equals 9th. Yep, that's from Adam Ahmed. Friction says Renault will go into Q2, but I don't think they will have the pace for Q3. Well, if you look at this weekend so far, I think you are about right. I think at best, Renault could probably get into Q2, but Q3 hasn't really looked like a likely thing so far this weekend because they haven't really had any pace. And you have to say that that is quite worrying because we thought after Canada and France that Renault had kind of turned a corner. But if they continue with the speed they've had so far this weekend, you have to say that they've gone back to square one. And of course, that's not where Renault want to go. Renault will outqualify, or no, Russell will outqualify Stroll today, says Addiction. If that happened, I think it would really illustrate why Lance Stroll is still not rated by that many people, despite his great performances on a race day. Yes, of course, we have had drivers in the past that have always been better on a race than they have in qualifying. There's plenty of drivers. For example, Michael Schumacher. Not to the degree of Lance Stroll. He wouldn't be awful in qualifying, but Michael was definitely a better race driver than a qualifying driver. No doubt about it. But if you look at the history of drivers that have always been better on race day than qualifying, they've never been like Lance Stroll. They've never been absolutely terrible on a Saturday and then good on a Sunday. They've always been kind of all right on a Saturday and even better on a Sunday. That's not what Lance Stroll is. That really is not what Lance Stroll is. Right, let me find some other comments. And Francisco makes the point, and it's true. Yeah, Kimi, that's another driver. Kimi is always better in the race than he is qualifying, but still in qualifying is pretty good, but is always better in the race. But again, that is, say, the difference between other drivers in history that have always been better in the race compared to qualifying and Lance Stroll. They're still doing well, but just not as well as what they do in the race. Stroll is quite frankly terrible when it comes to qualifying. There is no debate to be had about it. There is absolutely no debate to be had about that. No one can tell me that Lance Stroll is good at qualifying. And no, not one performance makes him good at qualifying. I don't care that he qualified, what was it, P4 in 2017 at Monza in the wet. So what? It's one qualifying session. One session, one weekend doesn't make you a great driver. Consistency makes you a great driver. So, yeah, no one can tell me honestly that Stroll is good at qualifying. No way at all. The guy is easily the worst driver when it comes to qualifying on the grid. No doubts about it. Let me find some other comments here, if I can, about the midfield. Jay Crail says McLaren better sort out Lando's rear brakes because it will cost them again. I'm not sure about that. I think that issue in Canada was a freak accident. I don't think that's going to happen again. Francisco asks, do you think Sainz will try to get into Q3? If McLaren are smart, they will do the first part of qualifying, but then park it for the second part, because they don't want to have a situation where Sainz has a penalty and they go and knock Norris out of qualifying. So I think because of that, I think, yeah, they'll get through to Q2 and then Carlos Sainz won't go out again for qualifying. Do you think it's time that, well, this person says Sahara Force India, they mean Racing Point, should drop Stroll and pick up Ocon? Well, look, at the end of the day, I think Esteban Ocon is a better driver than Lance Stroll. I think that is pretty clear. But you can't say that Stroll this season has done enough to be dropped, because he has been at times on race day very, very good. For example, Melbourne, he was all right in Shanghai, he was good in Baku. Canada, he was very good and was all right, kind of good in France. So you can't really say that he should be dropped based on his performances so far for the team. But in terms of who's the better driver, yeah, Ocon is the better driver, because I think Ocon would also be in those types of positions, but also Ocon is definitely a better qualifying driver, and that's the difference really between the two. Right, let me find a couple more, and then we'll get into some other... we'll get into the predictions. Mysterious Chris says, Williams literally has been keeping Formula 1 stable for a while. Drivers can even check their racing pace when they look at how many times they have lapped a Williams car. First Last says, how's it going, Shazza, mate? Going good. Right, let me find a couple more here if I can. Sainz, Will F1 says Sainz should do one lap in Q1 and park it. Yeah, I think he'll be out for qualifying. I think he will, because I don't think McLaren will want to not run his car, because they'll want to see if Carlos Sainz is also, you know, right up there in terms of pace, to kind of confirm themselves that they do have good speed in the car. So yeah, I think Carlos will definitely do something in qualifying. Danny Eduardo, Russell to Red Bull. Chazza, what are your thoughts? Well, as long as he's part of the Mercedes program, no way will that happen. But I will say that Mercedes, if they want Russell to get a better seat, I think they're going to have to start striking a deal with another team that has a different power unit pretty soon. Because I believe that Romain Grosjean is at risk of losing his seat. And I think Mercedes should start negotiating with Haas. Now, you may say, but Haas, they've got Ferrari power units. But if you look at their driver decisions in the past, they've never really picked a driver based on if they're a Ferrari driver, or, you know, Ferrari reserve driver, or a Ferrari Academy driver like Alfa Romeo have. So I think, honestly, that's Russell's best bet for a improved seat in 2020 is Haas. But I don't know yet if that actually is possible. By the way, just want to let you guys know that before Silverstone, in about a week and a half from now, I am going to be uploading a video which is my F1 2020 driver lineup predictions. So don't worry, that is coming, and I'll predict every lineup going into 2020, and hopefully I am correct, because I was correct with a couple things for 2019. Like, I was actually one of the only people that said Albon for Toro Rosso, and I somehow got that right. So yeah. Right, let me find one more comment and then we'll get into predictions. Danny Eduardo asks, there's ways to get out of the program though, right? Yeah, if Russell says, I don't want to be at the program anymore, then they will cancel the contract, because from a business point of view, for any business you run or anyone runs in the entire world, if you have someone at your, or who's working for you that doesn't want to be there, then it's not smart to keep them on. So it really comes down to, if he wants to leave that driver program, it does come down to Russell more so than Toto Wolff and Mercedes. Of course, I want to keep him, but I think they can absolutely try and strike a deal with a team like Haas, because I think Haas would absolutely take him on board if they do get rid of Romain Grosjean. But guys, we are now, with 20 minutes to go until qualifying, we're now going to get into my predictions for qualifying today. Make sure for the next 20 minutes or so to put yours in the live chat, and I'll read out as many as I can over the next 20 minutes or so before qualifying gets underway. So make sure, again, to put them in the chat, and I'll read out as many as I can. And also just want to say, don't forget to subscribe for more watch-alongs like this, as tomorrow's race watch-along is the only place on this website that you can catch a watch-along for the Austrian Grand Prix race of 2019. So make sure to subscribe for that and hit the notifications bell for that content, and also hit the like if you want to see content like this continue on the channel. But now let's get into it. So for pole position, and by the way, yes, I have changed my prediction from the podcast preview of Austria, which we uploaded, by the way, on Wednesday. If you haven't seen it, make sure to do so after this stream finishes, of course. I did predict on Wednesday for Ferrari to get a 1-2, but based on the pace I have seen so far this weekend, I am going to go for Lewis Hamilton to get pole position, because I think Lewis, again, as we saw in France, where he wasn't that quick up until qualifying, but then when it all mattered, he produced the goods again when it all mattered, and I think he will do the same today in Austria. If he does get pole, it will be his third pole position at the Red Bull Ring. And of course, Mercedes are going for their fifth consecutive pole position in Austria. The last time they weren't on pole was Williams in 2014. And to go back to the last time Mercedes Power wasn't on pole was 2003. Of course, there were no Austrian races between 2003 and 2014, so that is why that is the case. But yeah, for me, I'm going to go Lewis Hamilton on pole, because the car is absolutely good enough to get it, and I think Lewis will again produce another classic pole position. In second, though, very close behind, will be Charles Leclerc. Now, again, I think Ferrari will be very close to pole position. I think it will be very close between Hamilton, Leclerc, Vettel and Bottas, no doubt about it. But I think Leclerc, at the end of the day, because he isn't that good of a qualifying driver, he's definitely better. He's definitely a better race driver than he is a qualifying driver. I think because Hamilton is so great at qualifying, and because the Mercedes car is still good enough, I think Leclerc will, despite having a very quick car, just about miss out on pole position. But if he does get pole, it'll be his second ever pole position. Of course, he got his first ever back in Bahrain. And Ferrari are looking for their first pole in Austria since 2003. That day, it was Michael Schumacher, who, if you go back and look at that lap, it was one of the best laps of Michael's career. And for Charles Leclerc, if he is to get pole today, I think it will have to be one of his best laps of his career so far, because Lewis Hamilton, even though he hasn't been always at the top so far this weekend, you know that when it matters most, he will be right there and will have absolutely the pace for pole. And in third place, I'm going to go for Valtteri Bottas, because Valtteri Bottas I still think will be very quick, but not quick enough to be on the front row, because I think his teammate so far this weekend has been better than him. I think Bottas has been a bit more inconsistent so far this weekend, a bit more erratic than Hamilton. So I think Bottas, yeah, will be P3, and I think he'll get P3 because of how good he is at this track, and that's why he will finish ahead of Sebastian Vettel for that position, who I'm going for, by the way, Sebastian Vettel in P4. But if Valtteri Bottas does take pole, it'll be his third straight pole in Austria, and Mercedes are looking to get their second 1-2 in a row in qualifying at the Red Bull Ring. So yeah, those are my predictions for the top three. And then, of course, I just went for Vettel in P4. P5, I'm going to go Max Verstappen. P6, I'm going to go Lando Norris. And then P7, I'm going to go for Pierre Gasly. But guys, for the next 14 minutes, let me know, who do you think will get pole position? Who do you think will finish in second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth? And then if you want to, you can complete the rest of the top 10. But yeah, who do you think will get pole today in Austria? I think Lewis Hamilton will just about get it. I don't think necessarily he will have, say, the fastest car in qualifying, but because his car will be close enough to get pole, or be, you know, right there, and because he is so good in qualifying, I think Lewis will just about do enough. But let me know, do you think Hamilton will do enough, or do you think it'll be Charles Leclerc? Can Bottas get it, or will it be Sebastian Vettel getting his second pole out of the last 3 races? And again, I'll have a quick drink, then I'll come to your predictions and read them out for the next 13 minutes. And now I will move on to this picture of Hamilton. But yeah, let's see what you guys have to say in terms of who you think will be where. And I'll try and find the top of these predictions if I can. Right, let me find the first one, then I'll go reading everyone's out. Right. So Adam Ahmed goes Leclerc on pole, Bottas second, and Lewis Hamilton in third. And then, oh no, I've gone a bit too fast there. Let me go back up a minute. Where am I? Where have I gone? I've lost the one that I was reading. There you go. Right, so Jay Crail goes Lewis and Valtteri will get the first 2 spots for both qualifying and the race winning, in his opinion. Wakanda Forever goes Vettel on pole, Leclerc second, and Hamilton crashes. Right, let me find some more. Will F1 goes Leclerc, Hamilton, Vettel, Bottas, Verstappen, and Norris. And hold on a minute. Let me just find some others. JB says Leclerc, Bottas, Vettel, Hamilton, Verstappen, Norris, Raikkonen, Gasly, Ricciardo, Giovinazzi, Magnussen, Kvyat, Sainz, Hulkenberg, Albon, Perez, Grosjean, Stroll, Russell, and Kubica. So JB there going for the entire field. If you want to do so as well, guys, then go ahead. Let me find some others if I can. Eddie Webster says Leclerc for pole, Bottas second, Vettel third, and Hamilton wherever. Nick Dubbin, pole, Russell. Let me find. George Tanner says Hamilton to get pole, Leclerc second, Bottas third, Vettel fourth, Verstappen fifth, and Norris in sixth. Sebastian, great to see you, says Leclerc from Bottas. Oh no, Leclerc from Hamilton, then Bottas in third, and then says it will be close. Jay Crail expands on his prediction. He still says Lewis on pole from Valtteri second, Charles Leclerc third, Sebastian Vettel in fourth, and Max Verstappen in fifth. Mysterious Chris says Lewis Hamilton will get pole position. Louis Trichard, hold on, I've just missed that one. Right, here we go. Louis Trechard says Hamilton on pole, Bottas second, Vettel third, Leclerc fourth. Friction says Hamilton on pole, Leclerc second, Vettel third, Bottas fourth, Verstappen fifth, and then Norris and Gasly P6 and P7. Christopher says Hamilton on pole from Leclerc second, Bottas third, Vettel fourth, and Verstappen fifth. So same as me. Seeing a lot of people going for Lewis Hamilton on pole, and I don't blame them, because whether you like him or not, you cannot doubt that he does have most times, if not every time, the pace for pole position. Right, let me find some more. Let me just see. Robert says Ferrari front row with Vettel on pole, and then says it's all about speed on this track. By the way, with me going with Hamilton on pole, I'm not saying that Ferrari aren't going to be on pole or won't be anywhere close, but I think Lewis will have enough speed when it matters. And I will say again, Ferrari can absolutely get pole position. There is no doubt about that whatsoever. I'm not doubting that at all. But I think they're not far enough ahead to out-qualify Lewis Hamilton, who, as we've seen in the past, even if he does have a good enough car for pole, ends up still, you know, getting even more out of the car. So, so yeah, that's why I'm going for that. Han Solo says Hamilton on pole, Vettel second, Bottas third, Leclerc fourth, Verstappen fifth, and then the rest. John Ross Campbell says Hamilton from Bottas and the Leclerc in third. Right, let me find some others. Mysterious Chris says Hamilton, Leclerc, Bottas, Vettel, Verstappen, Gasly, Sainz, Norris, Perez, Kvyat, Perez P9. That is a ambitious prediction, but you never know, could happen. Perez is all right around this track. Never had a great result here, but he has been, you know, all right at times. He has had a couple points finishes in the past. I'll move on to this picture of the Red Bull. Of course, it is Red Bull's home race, but because of the way the track is, I'm not expecting Red Bull to be in a position to make their fans, and also for Max Verstappen to make his Dutch fans really happy today or tomorrow, because Red Bull simply do not have the type of car that you need around this circuit to be quick. I mean, you'd think with them owning the circuit, they would redesign the track to suit their car, but I'm guessing they can't do that for some reason. But again, you would think they'd redesign the track to suit their car, but of course, that's not what they've done. As, by the way, right now the track, the Orange Army, the Dutch Army of Verstappen fans are partying, getting ready for qualifying. And, well, that's just a taster of what we're going to get at Zandvoort in 2020 in the summer heat. Right, let me find some others. Justin says Leclerc, Bottas, Vettel. If I missed any, let me see. I don't think I have missed any others. So, if anyone else has not put in a prediction for qualifying as of yet, then make sure to put it in the next 6.5 minutes, and I will make sure to read it out. And also, just before Q3 starts, I'll make sure to read any more out, because of course the predictions we're talking about is mostly to do with pole position. But yeah, we are, what, 6 minutes away. I'm just going to try, guys, and see if I can put a picture up from the circuit of what is going on. Let me just have a quick look in the chat. Let me just see if there's any other comments I can read out at the moment. No, not for now, but let me just quickly see if there's any other, and no, not for now. So yeah, I'll post a different picture, guys, once I get it soon, but yeah, it'll be coming soon. And by the way, I just want to let people know that anyone who is here for, say, the first time, what we do on a watch along is, first off, of course, for obvious copyright infringement law, we do not show live footage of the session because that would completely destroy my channel. And of course, 1 year ago, that's what happened. So yeah, we're not going to do that. But what I will do is put up as many pictures as I can of what's going on at the track. I will have a running order running along the bottom of the screen, which I'll update as many times as I can. And also in the top left, I'll have a timer with how much time is left in Q1, Q2 and Q3. And I will provide a radio style commentary of what is going on in qualifying. So don't worry, you won't miss a thing. I'll cover everything that is going on. So yeah, that's what we do here. But let me look at some comments. By the way, I'm just going to quickly ban this person because this person is being really annoying. And there you go. So yeah, sorry about that, guys. That person was being annoying. Sorry about that. Elephant Gaming says, I bet Hamilton will win. There was a prediction just a moment ago and I missed it. It was from Worst719 who says Vettel on pole, from Hamilton second, Leclerc third, Bottas fourth, and Verstappen in fifth. And then Sharmark, I think it is, says Vettel on pole, Leclerc second, and Lewis Hamilton in third. And I can't say your first name, but I will say his second name. Popov says Vettel will get pole position. No problem, Matt. And by the way, for people wondering why I banned that person, it's because they were spamming the chat and also insulting other people for sharing their opinion, which of course on this channel is banned. On this channel, pretty simple, any opinion is allowed, but if you start insulting people for having a different opinion, then you're done. Simple as. But right, we're 3 minutes away from the start of qualifying. And I will get that running order booted up in a moment. And by the way, the running order that I will start showing in a moment will not be the current live order. It will be the finishing order from, of course, practice 2 yesterday, because I did the practice 2 watch along yesterday. And that is the last time I touched it. So, yeah, that's what it'll be, just to let you guys know. But I believe, let me just see. Yeah, I just want to show this picture if I can. Let me just show this picture of the atmosphere at the circuit. It's a great atmosphere at the circuit. A lot better than it was at Paul Ricard. No disrespect to anyone who went to Paul Ricard, but the atmosphere wasn't that great last weekend. It wasn't exactly anything the drivers, or anything that made the drivers quite excited. By the way, the air temperature is 29 for qualifying, and the track temperature is 52 degrees Celsius. And for anyone who uses Fahrenheit, that's 125. But there you go. Here is the Orange Army. And they are very excited for the start of qualifying. Now, Max Verstappen won't be in a position for pole, but of course, they'll support him no matter what. Harith Zach says Leclerc will get pole from Hamilton second and Bottas in third. Right, let me find some other predictions if I can. Finley, yes, there is no chance of rain. There is absolutely no way it will rain. If it rains, then it would be the biggest surprise in terms of weather probably in F1 history. That's how hot it is. Not only in Austria, but in Europe right now. It's an extremely hot part of the year right now in Europe. So yeah, no way it's going to rain. If it does, then again, it would be the biggest surprise, honestly, to do with weather that we've ever had. But anyway, let's get rid of that timer and get the text ready. So let me just do this, remaining in Q1. Of course, Q1 has not officially started yet, but it will in just a moment. Let me just get everything ready for you guys. As we're currently seeing a replay of practice 2, where Bottas, Verstappen and Vettel all crashed. And of course, that is not great preparation for the weekend if you bin it in the wall like they did. But now let's get up the running order. Again, that's not the live order. That is the final finishing order of practice 2. So I will update that as soon as the first times by everyone has been done in qualifying 1. As we're currently seeing on the TV, Nico Hülkenberg, who has a penalty for new elements on the power unit. That's Danny Kvyat, who last weekend did have a grid penalty, but this weekend gets to do qualifying, which is good for him. And we are moments away from the start of the session. And here we go. In about 5 seconds, it will get underway. And there you go. So qualifying is underway at the Red Bull Ring. Who will get pole position today? Will it be Mercedes or will it be Ferrari? In the next hour, we are going to find out. As we are now getting cars on the track, it is Robert Kubica and the 2 Alfa Romeos of course, Antonio Giovinazzi and Kimi Räikkönen, who are coming onto the circuit. And Kimi is now they are now into turn 3 and turn 4, so they'll be starting their laps pretty soon. And also, good point by Pedro Goldfinger, and it is true. It is not windy anymore, and that was a factor yesterday, and that will not affect them today. As Lance Stroll now comes out onto the circuit. And because it's a very short lap here, the outlap, you do have to put in more work to get the tyres working, because again, it's such a short lap. It only takes, on a flying lap, a minute to get around this circuit. As we do now have the 2 Alphas coming to start their first run in qualifying. Robert Kubica starts his first run, and here comes Antonio Giovinazzi and Kimi Räikkönen, and soon will be Lance Stroll. Only 4 cars on circuit right now. And Kimi Räikkönen comes into turn number 1. And he's now coming up to turn 3, the end of the first sector, and does a 16.4 for the first sector. Let me quickly show a picture of the Alpha for you guys. As now George Russell's now on track, as Kimi Räikkönen now comes through turn 4. Slight oversteer on exit, but that's all good. And Kimi now comes to the end of the second sector and does a 45.3. We don't know yet, of course, how good that is, but the lap so far looks pretty good. And Kimi now comes into the penultimate corner as Kubica goes fastest on a 1:07.5. Giovinazzi goes 2.5 seconds faster, and here comes Kimi Räikkönen, who goes 0.3 slower than Giovinazzi. So Giovinazzi fastest on a 1:05.0, and then it's Räikkönen second, about 0.3 behind. We do now have the 2 Haas's and Lando Norris and Nico Hülkenberg on track. Here is the Alpha on circuit. There you go. And who have we got now? So we've got plenty of people on an outlap. Lance Stroll is on a flying lap, his first flying lap of the session so far. Here comes Danny Kvyat onto circuit. And just trying to see where... So Stroll has gone up to P3 behind the 2 Alphas. But I stress, we've only had 4 lap times so far on the board. So once everyone completes their first time, I will update the order to what it actually is. But currently on an outlap is the 2 McLarens, the 2 Toro Rossos, the 2 Haas's and Nico Hülkenberg. And of course, in the pit lane are the 2 Red Bulls, 2 Mercedes, 2 Ferraris, Sergio Perez and Daniel Ricciardo. As Kevin Magnussen now starts his first run in qualifying. Let's see how this Haas is performing on Saturday. Slightly wide at turn 1, but gets away with it. And now Magnussen comes up to the first sector point. How quick is this? He's already quarter of a second down. That's not that great after 16 seconds of the lap. As Hülkenberg is right behind Magnussen on this lap, I believe. As Russell has completed his first time on the board and has gone about a second faster than Robert Kubica. Here comes Magnussen then, middle sector, and that's better. He's about half a tenth up on Giovinazzi. Hülkenberg, though, even faster. Hülkenberg is about 2 tenths up on Giovinazzi. Here comes Kevin Magnussen through the final corner, runs wide, and comes to the line, and Kevin Magnussen goes fastest. Hülkenberg goes second. Romain Grosjean comes to the line, and he goes P3, about 2 tenths off his teammate. Lando Norris goes P1. Antonio Giovinazzi comes to the line again and goes P3 for Alpha. As we now have everyone on circuit except for Lance Stroll and Max Verstappen. Stroll has set a time, Max Verstappen has not. And will Lewis Hamilton get a blocking penalty for that? Oh, he might do. And Raikkonen really not happy there. And if I was Raikkonen, I'd be exactly the same. Because I think that might be a bit of a block. But here comes Lewis Hamilton to start his first run in qualifying. And so is Charles Leclerc, who I believe is right behind Hamilton, getting a slight slipstream. But yeah, here comes Lewis Hamilton to turn 4. And car looks good, but doesn't look anything special at the moment. We'll have to see in the final sector how the car looks aerodynamically, of course. Here comes Lewis Hamilton, who's on the soft tyres. Charles Leclerc behind is on the mediums and going even faster. But Hamilton already half a second down on Norris. And look at the traffic there is in the final corner. And Hamilton will have to do another run because this run has, I think, been slightly compromised. But here he comes to the line and Hamilton only goes P7. Charles Leclerc on the medium compound goes fastest by 3.5 tenths of a second. And there is the Mercedes on circuit. And here comes Sebastian Vettel also on the mediums. Pierre Gasly is doing a lap. He's on the soft tyres. Vettel goes second. Gasly now goes second. But of course the 2 Ferraris are on mediums. Gasly is on soft tyres. And now, with 10.5 minutes to go, we wait for Sergio Perez, who completes his first time, goes up to 13th. And now we wait for Max Verstappen to complete his first time. And Max is, by the way, the only driver not to complete a time so far. As Max is about to start this run. So I'll wait to see where Max goes and then I will update the order with 10 minutes to go in Q1. So here comes Verstappen sparking away up to turn 1. This is the thing. Aerodynamically the car is good, but they just don't have the power to compete, I'm afraid. And, well, as you can see on the TV, he's already 4 tenths down after the first sector. And that's clear proof that they don't have the power to compete with Ferrari and Mercedes at this circuit. As Carlos Sainz goes P6, Bottas and Hamilton not looking that great. P10 and P11 right now, but I'm sure they're on another lap to try and improve that. Here comes Max Verstappen, though. who is now coming up to the final two corners. Turns it in. Car does look, again, aerodynamically good. It's not the best car aerodynamically on the grid, but it is still very good. And Max Verstappen comes to the line and goes P3. So let me now update some of the order. So it's Leclerc, from Gasly, then Verstappen, even though Lewis Hamilton is now on a lap. Let's see where Hamilton goes. He now puts it into the penultimate corner, and now into the final corner. And Lewis Hamilton, as Charles Leclerc goes even faster, Lewis Hamilton now goes P3. So it's Hamilton P3, and then Max Verstappen is in P4. Here comes Sebastian Vettel on a set of medium tyres. Runs off the track, but not to the point where he crashes. Here comes Vettel, and he goes second for Ferrari. Ferrari look very quick. They're first and second on harder tyres. And Bottas only goes P7 on that lap. That's awful for him. So it's Vettel second. Leclerc is fastest, and it's Gasly. Hamilton is fourth. Fifth is Max Verstappen, and then it's Lando Norris in P6. P7 is Valtteri Bottas. By the way, the top 16 are covered by 1.1 seconds. Just to let you know. Yeah, Bottas P7. P8 is Kevin Magnussen. P9 is Carlos Sainz. P10 is Romain Grosjean. So Haas are looking pretty good for the moment. Alfa Romeo of Antonio Giovinazzi is P11. P12 is Nico Hülkenberg. P13 is Daniel Ricciardo. So Renault looking like they're going to get knocked out in Q2 at this point. Ricciardo P13. P14 is Sergio Perez. Then it is Albon in 15th. And then it is Raikkonen 16th. I think that getting held up by Lewis Hamilton did not help, as Max Verstappen is about to go, I think, fastest of all. He's coming to the final two corners now. Let's see what Max Verstappen does. Final corner, car looking very settled, and here comes Max Verstappen, and he goes second. But again, the two Ferraris are on mediums, and the Mercedes and Red Bull are on soft tyres. Here comes Lewis Hamilton. Where will he go? He stays P5 for now. Let me update that. So Vettel is P3, and then it's Gasly P4, and Lewis Hamilton in P5. So that is the order for now, with 5.5 minutes to go in qualifying one. And now, guys, I will try to find you a different picture to put on screen. I'll try to put a Ferrari on screen if I can, as replay of Vettel on the medium tyres running wide at turn 3, locking the inside front. And yet, I've found a picture of Charles Leclerc. It's not from qualifying so far, but it is him on circuit. Let me just get it for you guys, and here you go. Charles Leclerc, so far in qualifying one, fastest of all. Ferrari, you have to say, looking very, very strong. And Mercedes, who are currently at the moment P5 and P7, as Sebastian Vettel is in the weighbridge. Mercedes have work to do. No doubt about that whatsoever. And actually, I've got a better picture of a Ferrari from qualifying right now. So let me get that on screen. And it is the Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel, as we're currently on the TV looking at Kevin Magnussen, about to start one of his final runs of qualifying 1. Here is Vettel running clearly off the circuit. So there you go. Medium compound, currently P3. And here comes Kevin Magnussen to start another run. He's currently in P8. So Haas not looking too bad. They're not looking too bad, as he's about quarter of a second off Charles Leclerc, that is, in the first sector. And now Kevin Magnussen comes to turn 4. Car looks good. Grosjean is also now on another lap. Here comes Magnussen to the middle sector. And Magnussen only 3.5 tenths off Charles Leclerc through the first 2 sectors. Now let's see what he can do in the final 2 corners. Flings it in. Again, car looking pretty good compared to how it was in France, as Norris is looking very quick right now in the McLaren. And Magnussen improves his lap time but stays in P8. Here comes Romain Grosjean. Opens the DRS. Will he improve? Yes, Grosjean goes P6. Lando Norris goes P4. Antonio Giovinazzi goes P6. Kimi Raikkonen goes P8. By the way, Valtteri Bottas is not on circuit and is currently P11. That is a risk. That's a massive risk. He's now P12 because Hülkenberg has gone up to P11. So, but yeah, that's a massive risk to leave Valtteri Bottas in the pit lane. But of course, we'll see if that works out. And now Valtteri comes out on track. So thankfully, from a Mercedes point of view, they didn't leave him in the pits because I think he was at risk of getting knocked out. But currently in the drop zone with under 2 minutes to go is Alexander Albon, Danny Kvyat, Lance Stroll, George Russell and Robert Kubica. And on the cusp of getting knocked out is Sergio Perez. We're seeing right now a bit of debris flying up from the Renault car, I believe from the floor of Nico Hülkenberg. His car at times this weekend has been falling apart, whether it has been the floor, the front wing, the rear wing, the Hülkenberg. His car falling apart a bit. And we're currently seeing a Toro Rosso of Danny Kvyat coming to turn 4 on one of his final attempts in qualifying. P17 at the moment for Kvyat. Can he do better than that? And, turns into turn 6 where Bottas went off yesterday. Kvyat so far doing plenty enough to get into qualifying 2. But his teammate is going very slow to start his lap. So, oh, look at that. That is disgraceful traffic. Absolutely disgraceful from the Williams there. And all those cars. And Kvyat doesn't improve his lap. So whoever blocked him is getting a penalty. That was absolutely disgraceful by that Williams for sure. But whoever else was there was being disgraceful as well. Max Verstappen goes P1. Again though, Leclerc P2 on mediums. Verstappen P1 on soft tyres. Magnussen has dropped down to 13th and stays in 13th. Lance Stroll goes P14. Can he get out of the drop zone? Daniel Ricciardo goes P11. Here comes Lewis Hamilton on his final attempt in qualifying 1. Where will he go? P2. Slightly slower than Max Verstappen. Robert Kubica stays last. Romain Grosjean is now coming to the line and goes P9. But the only other drivers on a lap at the moment are Albon and Perez as Bottas goes P3. Here comes Alexander Albon, opens the DRS. Can he get into Q2? Yes, he can. So Lance Stroll again is out in qualifying 1. Russell stays 19th. Perez only 16th. And Stroll is 17th and Kvyat is 18th. So there you go. That is it for qualifying 1. And let me quickly just update a few things. So Q1 is over. And now I will do the running order, or the finishing order of qualifying 1 going into qualifying 2. So Verstappen ended up going fastest from Hamilton in 2nd. P3 is Valtteri Bottas, and then it is Leclerc P4. P5 is Sebastian Vettel. P6 is Lando Norris. P7, Pierre Gasly. PA, Antonio Giovinazzi. Great lap by Giovinazzi, only half a tenth slower than Gasly. So he goes 8th. 9th, Carlos Sainz. 10th, Romain Grosjean. 11th is Kimi Raikkonen. P12 is Daniel Ricciardo. And then P13 is Alexander Albon, doing a good lap there. And then P14 is Nico Hülkenberg. P15, Kevin Magnussen. And then, out of qualifying 1, is Sergio Perez, Lance Stroll, who again gets knocked out in Q1. Danny Kvyat is out in 18th, but I have to say, I think the drivers that blocked him at the end there absolutely are guilty of blocking. And then, of course, it is Russell and Kubica at the back. And I believe we're about to see a replay on Sky F1 of Danny Kvyat getting blocked. So we'll see that in a moment. But yeah, that is your qualifying 1 and qualifying 2 will be underway in just a moment. Let me quickly, if I can, post a different picture. I'm just seeing now. So yeah, Kvyat turns in and the Williams is like kind of pulled over to the inside off the racing line, but is kind of still on the racing line. Whoever that Williams was is absolutely gonna get a penalty. There is absolutely no doubt about that whatsoever. Because that was a clear block and that affected Kvyat a lot. Kvyat was gonna comfortably get into Q2. He was half a second faster than Sergio Perez. So yeah, definitely that's a penalty for that Williams driver, whoever that is. But I'm going to quickly post another picture, this time of a Red Bull. There you go. I believe that is Pierre Gasly, who finished, what, P7 in Q1. But there you go. As yeah, qualifying 2 will be underway in just a moment. And yet the incident between Kvyat and it was Russell. It was Russell in the Williams. That will be investigated after the session. And, well, I think it's pretty clear that Russell will be getting a penalty for that because that was such a clear block. Right, let's get ready for Q2. I'll get the text ready there. And, yeah, Q2 will be underway in just a moment. I'll come to the comments in a moment, guys, just to see what you guys are saying. By the way, great to see that the viewership is continuously climbing. So great to see that. Great to see, by the way, so many of you here for qualifying in Austria. And I think you can say it's definitely more competitive and interesting than it was in France. I don't think we can doubt that whatsoever. But yeah, qualifying 2 underway in a moment. Thank you, Astro Stevo, saying good job, Chazza. Grace says, I still believe Mercedes can hit the top and Lewis Hamilton remains my favourite. Well, after Q1, if you're a Mercedes or Lewis Hamilton fan or Valtteri Bottas fan, you've got to be hoping that Mercedes had their power unit turned down in Q1 because it looked pretty ominous for Ferrari there. finished up P4 and P5 on medium compound tyres. So, yeah, pretty ominous, but of course we don't know what the teams are doing in terms of what engine mode they're in or anything like that. So we'll see what happens when we get to the important part of qualifying in about 30 minutes from now when Q3 gets underway. But before that, of course, it is Q2. And this, in the midfield, is where it gets super interesting because anyone can get knocked out of qualifying 2. Absolutely anyone in that midfield because it's that close between McLaren, Haas, Alfa, Renault, one of the Toro Rossos. It really is that close, especially this weekend at this type of circuit. As we're just seeing Russell walking back into the pit lane. Yeah, we'll be getting underway for qualifying 2 very, very soon. Just waiting for the timer to start and then we'll get mine started up as well. And I believe qualifying 2 is now underway. So there you go, timer is now there. Hopefully it's absolutely up to date. If it's not, I'll reset it in half a minute's time. But yeah, qualifying 2, I believe, has started. Actually, let me hide it again because I'm not sure it has started because we haven't got any cars on the circuit. Let me quickly just reset it, realign it because I want to make sure, of course, that it's absolutely up to date as the 2 Mercedes cars come out on medium compound tyres. Do they, though, have the pace to get into the top 10 on that set of tyres? I'm not too sure they do. But, right, yeah, I'll update the timer, guys, in about 13 minutes, in about 45 seconds time, I will update the timer to what it is. But yeah, we've got Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas on circuit on medium compound tyres. Here comes a Red Bull on medium compound tyres. It is Max Verstappen. And then we should have the 2 Ferrari drivers on medium tyres as well in just a moment. As Verstappen now comes through turn 3 and will start his lap pretty soon. But yeah, I'll put the timer up, guys, in about 5 seconds from now. Hold on a minute. So, and we sync up right now. So there you go. 13 minutes left in qualifying 2. Who will get knocked out in the midfield? Let's see. As Lewis Hamilton now starts his first run, as Charles Leclerc is on soft tyres. That's very surprising that Ferrari have decided to do that. But of course, they have some reason why. As Lewis Hamilton does a 16.2 for the first sector. That's pretty quick. But Valtteri Bottas goes even faster in the first sector. Again, both Hamilton and Bottas on medium compound tyres. And Lewis, as we now get, the 2 Ferraris are now on track. And so is Romain Grosjean. As Hamilton does a 44.7 for the middle sector. What does Bottas do? A 44.5. So Valtteri Bottas looking very quick. As Hamilton now comes to the final corner, what will his time be? Lewis Hamilton opens the DRS and does a 104.1. That is pretty good, but nothing absolutely special. As Bottas does a 103.9. That's a definite better lap. But Max Verstappen is going even faster. He's already about a 10th up on this lap on Valtteri Bottas. Here he comes through the final corner. And Max Verstappen will go P1 by 1/10 of a second on a 103.8. Now we have the 2 Ferraris on a lap on the soft compound tyre. Charles Leclerc is quarter of a second faster than Verstappen after the middle sector. Vettel is about a tenth slower than Leclerc. Charles Leclerc, though, comes through the final corner, opens the DRS, and should comfortably go P1. He does by about 4/10 of a second. Vettel goes P2, about 2/10 of a second slower than Charles Leclerc. So that's a bit surprising, though. Ferrari have gone for soft tyres, but there you go. As we're now seeing Pierre Gasly on an outlap on the soft compound tyre, and he's now coming up to the final two corners to get his lap started. Plenty of traffic ahead, though. Romain Grosjean is now setting his first time of Q2. Again, I'll update the order of Q2 so far once everyone has completed a lap. Everyone that is in Q2, well, except for Max Verstappen, is on circuit. As Pierre Gasly now starts his lap, what can he do? He'll get a bit of a slipstream from a couple cars ahead as Romain Grosjean goes P6, a 104.7. And Gasly is about a tenth off Leclerc in the first sector. That's not too bad. As Pierre Gasly now comes to turn 4. And car at the moment looking good. And by the way, turn 3 incident involving Lewis Hamilton and Kimi Raikkonen will be investigated after the session. I'm not too sure whether it was a block or not. It was kind of a 50-50 for me, but we'll see what happens with that. But Pierre Gasly now coming to the end of his first flying run in Q2. And he now comes to the line, opens the DRS, and Pierre Gasly goes P6. That is quite slow. Kimi Raikkonen goes P7. Here comes Alexander Albon. Where will he go? He goes P8, ahead of Grosjean. Lando Norris is on a lap. Let's see what he can do. I'm going to try and put a different picture on the screen for you guys. Here you go. Here comes Lando Norris, though. And Norris goes P7. Here comes Antonio Giovinazzi. He goes P9. Carlos Sainz only P12 for some reason. Nico Hülkenberg goes up to P10. Ricciardo only P13. And Magnussen should be completing his lap. Here he comes. Kevin Magnussen goes P10. So that is your order so far in Q2 with about 8 minutes to go. So it's Leclerc at the top from Vettel in second. Again, I'm a bit perplexed why Ferrari went for soft tyres in Q2. I don't understand that. I really don't understand that. As Lewis Hamilton goes P4. Here's a replay of Grosjean in the final corner. And he goes off the circuit, but uses the curbs on the outside kind of to his advantage, but did damage the front wing slightly. But yeah, Hamilton is now 4th, and then it's Bottas in 5th. Gasly is 6th, just ahead of Lando Norris and Kimi Raikkonen. So again, Lando Norris in the McLaren looking very good. So yeah, Raikkonen 8th. 9th is Antonio Giovinazzi. So Alpha looking pretty good right now. P10, Kevin Magnussen. And then P11, and in the drop zone and at risk of being knocked out, of course, Nico Hülkenberg, Alexander Albon, who has a grid penalty anyway, not Kevin Magnussen, who is it? Grosjean in 13th. Then it is Ricciardo, surprisingly, in 14th, even though, of course, Daniel Ricciardo at this circuit is not exactly amazing. and then it's Carlos Sainz 15th. So in the drop zone, Hülkenberg, Albon, Grosjean, Ricciardo, Sainz. Those are the drivers that need to improve if they want to get into the final top 10 shootout of qualifying. The only drivers really at risk of getting knocked out for me are probably Giovinazzi and Magnussen. I think Raikkonen and Norris, honestly, are probably fine to get into Q3. And we're currently seeing a replay of Raikkonen and with that Hamilton incident. So Hamilton's parked on the inside. That's so difficult because it's not like Hamilton blocked Raikkonen from turning in, because he did turn or go off the track to let Raikkonen turn in. So it could be a penalty, that, but it also might not be. It's very hard for me to say because it wasn't as clear as the Russell one. But if they do give a penalty, I wouldn't honestly be that, outraged or anything like that, because I could completely understand why they would give Lewis Hamilton a penalty for that, because, well, we'll hear from Kimi Raikkonen later on, but if Kimi says he was blocked, then he was blocked. But let me quickly put Charles Leclerc on your screen, because of course he is P1 in Q2. Here he is in the beautiful looking matte red coloured Ferrari, and yet is currently in P1. Here comes Hamilton and Bottas back onto the circuit on another set of medium tyres again. So maybe they want to improve their lap time, I don't know. But the only drivers on the medium tyres in Q2 are Verstappen, Hamilton, Bottas. Everyone else is on the soft compound of tyre. So that's very interesting, again, that Ferrari have decided to go for the soft tyre, but maybe they'll go on the mediums, Ferrari, at the very end of qualifying 2. I'm seeing people in the chat saying 5-second penalty. I'm also seeing people say that it should be a penalty. I don't know. It's a 50-50 for me. I could understand if they do or don't give him a penalty. I wouldn't be massively outraged if they gave him a penalty or if they didn't give him a penalty. It's not that clear cut for me. But we'll see, of course, later on, as Romain Grosjean goes up to P11. And, well, he does have, Grosjean, 3 minutes to go to do another run, but that's not looking good for him, if I'm being honest. So let me quickly update that. So Grosjean is P11, and then it, of course, is Hülkenberg in P12, and then Alexander Albon is in P13. As we have Hamilton and Bottas on another lap, Lando Norris, Kevin Magnussen, and the 2 Renaults are on an outlap as well. And I'm just trying to see what the sector times are for Bottas. So Bottas has improved his first sector time. Let's see what he does for his second sector time. He is about half a second down on Charles Leclerc. Not looking that great then. So far, 2 minutes to go in qualifying 2. And Bottas now comes to the final corner. Opens the DRS, and Valtteri Bottas will go P4. So Bottas up to 4th. Let me quickly update that before everyone does their final Q2 attempt. As we're seeing a replay of Hamilton, I think, making a mistake. Is it turn 1? That's not really a mistake. I don't really know why they're showing that. For me, that was absolutely fine, but there you go. Yeah, Bottas up to P4, and Hamilton, I'm sure, will try to do a final lap on the medium. But we now have Gasly, Norris, Raikkonen, Giovinazzi, Magnussen, Hulkenberg, Ricciardo, Albon on outlaps. And now some of them have now started their final run. So here we go. Who will get knocked out in qualifying 2? Let's now see. Magnussen is P10 at the moment and has not improved. His first sector, neither is Daniel Ricciardo. Lando Norris, though, has, who is currently in P7. And Magnussen locks up and goes not into the gravel. He did very well there. And Norris got held up by that. So Magnussen cost Norris there time. But now both Norris and Magnussen are going to let the two Renaults go through. And now they blocked Ricciardo. What are they doing out there? So Magnussen, yeah, locks up at turn 4, tries to turn in, but no grip. He did well, actually, not to go into the gravel trap and get any further than where he did. But they've now blown Daniel Ricciardo's lap. Has Magnussen and also Norris. As Hulkenberg is eliminated in P12, so he will start P17 with that 5-place penalty. Here comes Kimi Raikkonen on the soft compound tyre. To the final 2 corners. Norris is pitted. He's P7 for now. Ricciardo's pitted. He's P14. Albon P13. Antonio Giovinazzi moves up to P7. Raikkonen goes P6. And here comes Pierre Gasly. And he goes P6, but only just ahead of Kimi Raikkonen. And is Romain Grosjean out on track? I don't think he is. So, I think that is it for qualifying 2. Let me quickly update the order. So it was Hamilton 3rd, then it was Verstappen. Actually, hold on a minute. Let me just get rid of this and also replace this text. So yeah, the 2 Renaults out in P12 and P14, but I think Magnussen and possibly Norris might be getting a penalty for blocking. Because they did block at least one of the Renaults on their lap. But yeah, Q2 is now over. And the running order is, let me just quickly get it back up. So yeah, P4 Verstappen, then for Bottas P5, then Gasly, Raikkonen, and then P8 is Giovinazzi. So Alpha looking very strong today, very strong, more like it from them. P9 is Norris, but he was blocked by Magnussen, kind of, on his final attempt. And then Magnussen in P10, then it's Grosjean, Hulkenberg, Albon, Ricciardo, Sainz out in qualifying 2. So there you go, that's qualifying 2 over and done with. But guys, let me know right now, with a couple minutes to go until the final top 10 shootout, who do you think will get pole position? Are you still going for the same person you went for as Ferrari, trying to fix something on Sebastian Vettel's car? I don't know what it is, but who are you going for pole? Is it the same person you went for before qualifying, or has your opinion now changed because of new information during qualifying? Let me know, and I'll read out your comment. Gross H says Leclerc, I think. By the way, we are close to 1,000 viewers. It would be awesome if we did get that, so let's try and get that if we can. Jigstar says Hamilton. I think it is, says Leclerc. Magath88 says Verstappen, but I want Vettel to get pole. Let me see. Chris says Vettel. Alexandra says Leclerc. Harith Zach says Leclerc. DJ Styles says Lewis Hamilton. Pedro Goldfinger says Bottas, maybe. So, and let me just actually find a different picture for you guys to put up on screen, and then I'll try to read out a few more comments before qualifying 3 gets underway. let me just quickly find a different picture. Also, I'll try and get the timer ready for you guys. Of course, for qualifying 3, 12 minutes long is Q3. And here you go. Let me get this picture up of Valtteri Bottas, I believe it is, in the Mercedes. You have to say, it is looking very close at the top. Very, very close. It's not going to be just Mercedes going for pole. It's a 4-driver, at most, if we're lucky, 5-driver fight for pole. But I think most likely it is between Leclerc, Vettel, Hamilton, Bottas. But there you go. There is, I think it's actually Lewis Hamilton. But there you go. There is the Mercedes. And yes, it is Lewis Hamilton, because you can see the 4 at the back of the car. But yeah, let me know, who do you think will get pole, and I will try to read out as many as I can see before we get to the start of the session. Mr. DJ says Leclerc, Vettel, Verstappen. Saw someone say Hamilton there. Andrea said Hamilton. Callum Dixon says Hamilton. C7 Drew says Charles. OK says Lewis. Yannick, I think it is, or Wanik, says Leclerc or Vettel. Phil says go Max. We've had others say Leclerc. A couple people saying Kimi. I think if Kimi got P6, that would honestly make a lot of people's days, honestly. Yet Q3 is about to get underway as Ferrari continue to work on Sebastian Vettel's car. They're working around the side pod area. I don't know, though, what the issue is as of yet. So I'm sure if he doesn't come out for the first run, it's quite a alarming issue. As we're now seeing on the TV, Pierre Gasly in the Red Bull, and his aim has to be P6 because he does not simply have the speed to compete with his teammate and anyone else ahead. And Raikkonen and Norris behind are very, very close to him. As Charles Leclerc is soon to come out on circuit in the Ferrari. Just waiting for the qualifying 3 session to get underway. Let me quickly do the text in preparation. Remaining in Q3. Q3 has not officially started. It will, though, in just a moment. By the way, the order from P11 down to P20 is, of course, the final order of qualifying for those drivers. The top 10, though, is officially yet to be decided, as everyone is ready now to see what goes down at the Red Bull Ring, as the Dutch Max Verstappen Orange Army is still out in force, wishing Max on to a great result. And yet, still waiting. It's very, very tense in that pit lane, I can tell you. Very tense, very, very hot as well. A very uncomfortable session for many. Yet we are still annoyingly waiting. But I think it's about to get underway, if not right now or not in, say, a minute's time. As we're seeing now, Lewis Hamilton. And right, so Q3 is now underway. But I need to wait just a moment to sync up the timer. I wish, by the way, FOM would show the timing left in the session and not, you know, wait 2-3 minutes to actually show the timer. But currently we're now, as Mattia Binotto is now instructing them to, or is now calling over someone to do with Sebastian Vettel's car. There's some kind of issue with Vettel's car. I don't know what it is, though. But yet we're all still waiting. The session has actually started. I don't know how much time is remaining, though. But everyone, annoyingly, is just waiting. What are they waiting for? Get out there on track. Set a lap time. I don't know what the wait's for. We're all just watching Ferrari and Mercedes kind of waiting till one team goes first. I don't get what they're doing here. Get out on track. Because it might be a mistake if you don't get out on track now and set a lap time. Because you never know, red flag can happen. And then you can lose vital time as the 2 Alfa Romeos come out onto circuit. So that's great for us. I still, though, don't know how long is left in the session, guys, unfortunately, because they aren't showing us. So once I know how long is left in the session, I will sync up the time precisely. But again, as soon as we actually know how much time is left, because we're not seeing that right now because FOM are really annoying. And we're still, instead of seeing cars on circuit, which we do have, we're seeing people in the pit lane. That's not what we want to see. We want to see the cars on track. So FOM, please, can you show the cars? This is very annoying. As we're still looking at cars, what in the pit lane, what is going on, FOM? Can we at least see what is going on? Hamilton still in the pit lane. So is Vettel, Leclerc, Bottas, Verstappen, Gasly. I don't know what the wait is for. What are they waiting for, honestly? What are they waiting for? Are they waiting? Are they just going to wait until the end of the session? And then they're all going to complain about red flags at the end, if there is one. Seriously, what is the wait? This is absolute. The Liberty have got to tell the teams about this. I'm sorry, this is not entertaining. Watching cars waiting to come out on track. Get out there and set a bloody time. What is going on? This is... And there you go. So we finally now know how much time is left. Thank you, FOM, for being so kind. I'll sync up the timer, guys, in a moment. But this has to be the most boring start to a qualifying 3 session I think I've ever seen. And if I was Liberty, I'd tell the teams to stop acting like dicks and get out on track. And stop trying to, you know, duke each other out. As Giovinazzi and Raikkonen, by the way, are on a lap. As Giovinazzi, I think, will be the first runner to come to the end of his lap. Here he comes. Antonio Giovinazzi does a 1:04.7. That's not very quick. Kimi Raikkonen does a 1:04.7 also and goes 8 thousandths of a second quicker. As now, finally, the Mercedes and the Ferraris come out on track. Or not the Ferraris, only one Ferrari, but you know what I mean. Again, don't know what the wait was for. That was completely pointless. But there you go. Timer is now absolutely synced up. And we are now going to see our first attempts in qualifying 3, and we're going to see who does, when it matters most, who does have the pace. Who is going to produce that stellar final lap when it matters most. We'll see in just a moment. By the way, the current running order is not the exact order because we haven't had everyone do a lap or do their first lap in qualifying 3 so far, as the Max Verstappen fans are having a party. But let me quickly put a different picture on screen for you guys of Valtteri Bottas. There you go. Let me just adjust it, and then we'll get into the first laps of these top drivers as they're all backing up massively. It's like they don't want to do 2 separate runs for some reason. I don't get it. I really don't get it, but there you go. So yeah, here comes Lewis Hamilton, soft compound tyres. First run in Q3. Now we're going to see who does have the speed for pole. As Hamilton now comes up the first corner and runs alongside that sausage curb on exit. Absolutely fine. Now comes up to the end of the first sector and does a 16.1. That's very quick for the first sector. Bottas, though, goes even faster by about A tenth of a second, I believe. Charles Leclerc, though, even faster than that. Leclerc about 0.2 faster than the Mercedes in the first sector. As Hamilton comes to the middle sector and does a 44.7, I believe that is, or 44.6. And now he comes up to the final two corners. Valtteri Bottas behind, going even faster than Hamilton. Charles Leclerc is going absolutely immense in the middle sector. Here comes Lewis Hamilton. He goes P1 on a 1:03.9. That's not that quick. Here comes Valtteri Bottas, who goes on pole on a 1:03.5. Here comes now Charles Leclerc. Opens the DRS and Charles Leclerc takes pole for now with 5 minutes to go on a 1:03.2. So Charles Leclerc is fastest. Pierre Gasly goes P4 on a 1:04.1. Here comes Max Verstappen. Where will he go? P3 for now. 1:03.8 ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Only just, but he's ahead of Lewis Hamilton for now. So Leclerc, with 5 minutes to go, is on pole position. But again, there is one final run to do before qualifying is over. So it's not over yet. Hamilton, Bottas, if Vettel can get on track, Leclerc, they can all still get pole. So P4 is Lewis Hamilton. And then P5 as Sebastian Vettel, I think, is out of the car. So Vettel is done in qualifying. I will, in a minute, guys, look on Twitter to see why that is. So Sebastian Vettel is out of qualifying in P10. What a disaster for Ferrari. You'd assume because of the pace of the Ferrari that he would be P2, but that is a shame. That is a real shame for him, but there you go. But Norris is P8, and then it is Magnussen in P9. And then it is Sebastian Vettel P10, and he will remain there. But now I'm going to quickly... And by the way, yes, we have broke 1,000 viewers. Thank you guys so much. Every single one of you, as I say plenty of times, and I don't just say this to say it, but you guys do contribute absolutely just everything that happens in a good way to this stream. You're so great at contributing to a stream. So thank you guys so much. And yep, let's continue this stream. But I just want to quickly see what the issue was with Sebastian Vettel. So give me just a moment. Apparently, Sebastian Vettel's floor is damaged. Apparently, that's what it is. It's floor damage, and I think it's probably too much for him to continue. That might be from him running over those yellow little curbs on the outside of the track. So Sebastian, I think, kind of the cause of his own downfall there, but we'll find out later what the real issue was. So I'll wait until I say that. But yeah, he is P10 and out of qualifying. As we now have 2.5 minutes to go in Q3. And I assume the teams will come out again. I don't see why they would stay in the pits. And yet, Lewis Hamilton is very soon coming out onto the circuit. So Hamilton has had, I think we can say, not so great first run. But again, with Lewis Hamilton, as we have seen in the past, that doesn't mean that he is or has messed up qualifying, because he is very good at getting that final lap together. As now Hamilton, Bottas, Leclerc come out on circuit. Also the two Alfa Romeos, Kevin Magnussen, Lando Norris. And now the two Red Bulls are on circuit. So 90 seconds to go. Let's see, out of that top four, Leclerc, Bottas, Verstappen, Hamilton, let's see what happens, and let's see who takes pole for the Austrian Grand Prix of 2019. By the way, just to mention that no Hold on a minute. No non-Mercedes car has been on pole at this circuit since 2003. That's how dominant Mercedes have been in qualifying at the Austrian Grand Prix. And that's how dominant their power unit has been at this Grand Prix. So it would be something if Charles Leclerc got pole, and we'll see in about a minute and a half's time whether he does get that. But everyone right now, except of course for Sebastian Vettel, is on an outlap. And now we come to the start of those final runs. So Giovinazzi starts his final run. So does Kimi Raikkonen. Then Magnussen as Verstappen. I believe they're passing Leclerc. A big traffic jam at the end of the final corner there. And here comes Lewis Hamilton to start his final run. What can Lewis Hamilton do? The current Drivers' World Championship leader. Can the 5 times world champion produce another classic qualifying attempt? Let's see. First sector, faster than he went before, but still not as quick as Charles Leclerc. Now opens the DRS for the final time of the lap. Going down to turn 4, does have a car ahead of him, Lando Norris, but I'm not sure it will affect him, as Hamilton is now coming up to turn 6. What's his middle sector time? Lewis Hamilton is 0.2 slower than Leclerc, so unless Hamilton can absolutely throw it in to those final 2 corners, as Giovinazzi goes 5th, now Raikkonen does. Unless he can throw it into the final 2 corners, he won't get pole. Here comes Lewis Hamilton as Magnussen now goes 5th. Lewis Hamilton goes 2nd, half a tenth behind Leclerc. Verstappen is 3rd. Leclerc still on pole. Valtteri Bottas P4 behind Verstappen. What a result for Red Bull, and Gasly has ended up P9. P9, but Charles Leclerc is on pole position for the 2nd time in his career, and we have a new track record of 103.003. What a fantastic end to qualifying. Verstappen in the top 3. Who would have thought that? And also Pierre Gasly down in P9. Magnussen is 5th. Norris is 6th. Raikkonen 7th. Giovinazzi 8th. Gasly 9th. And Vettel 10th. What happened to Pierre Gasly? We'll have to find out later on. But let me quickly do your final finishing order. So Leclerc gets pole, and he does deserve it. He was very quick today. Then it's Verstappen 3rd, Bottas 4th. I have to say Valtteri, very poor qualifying. Very, very poor. 5th, Kevin Magnussen. And I think people need to start mentioning that Kevin Magnussen this season and in his career is a very, very good qualifying driver. P6, Lando Norris. P7, Kimi Raikkonen. And then P8 is Antonio Giovinazzi. So great for Alfa Romeo, great for both drivers. Then P9 is Gasly, and P10 is Sebastian Vettel. So there you go, guys. And let me quickly get a picture of your pole position man up on the screen. And then we'll get into the reaction of what has happened. So let me just try and find a picture of Charles Leclerc if I can. But yep, Charles is on pole, and I've got one. Let me just get it for you guys. Yep, Charles Leclerc, his 2nd ever pole position. 2nd, Lewis Hamilton. I don't think Lewis will be disappointed with that, because his fight is not with Leclerc, it's with Bottas. And you have to say, once again, Max Verstappen getting the best, if not even more, out of his car. But here you go. Here is the man on pole, Charles Leclerc. And that is Ferrari's 1st pole position in Austria since the 2003 race when Michael Schumacher went on to win. Can Leclerc do the same tomorrow? We'll see, of course, in the race watch along. And by the way, just want to say thank you guys for coming along for this stream. But also, don't forget to subscribe if you are new, because tomorrow's race watch along is the only place on YouTube where you can catch a watch along for the 2019 Austrian Grand Prix race. So don't forget to subscribe for that. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there, or go to my homepage by clicking on my channel name, then click subscribe and hit the notifications bell, and also hit the like if you want to see this content continue on this channel. But yeah, for the next 20 minutes or so, I am going to now react with you guys to what has happened in qualifying. So make sure in the live chat and also the comment section to put in who or what did you think of qualifying today? What did you think of the drivers' performances, of the team's performances? Let me know in the live chat, and I'll read out again as many comments as I can. Let me just check to see if I've got any super chats. Nope, I don't. Right. By the way, DJ Styles, no problem. I just saw that message fly past. Keith asks, did Hamilton get a penalty? We don't know yet. That will be investigated after the session. By the way, thank you to the people saying thank you for the stream. Really do appreciate it. And also thank you guys for coming along and making the stream as great as it is, because that's why the streams are so great. It's because you guys come along, interact, and make it what it is. Gina, Max, once again, brilliant. Gasly, oh boy, he was quick today, lol. Again, Pierre Gasly, shocking performance. Absolutely shocking performance. P9. I'm sorry, that's not good enough. And by the way, if you look at the lap times, he was about, what, 7/10 of a second behind Max Verstappen. 7/10 of a second. That is not good enough. You cannot be that far behind your teammate. I don't care if your teammate is Ayrton Senna, Michael Schumacher, or Lance Stroll. You should not be that far behind your teammate. You have no excuses. And again, poor qualifying for Gasly. But there you go. Divers Paradise says thank you very much, Chazza. No problem. Magnussen P5. By the way, thank you, Sam, saying you're the best for hosting the stream. No problem. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming along. Hopefully, again, if you are new, you will subscribe, because we do this for every single race weekend. Yeah, Magnussen P5. That is absolutely incredible. And Hakeem is saying thanks to you, Chazza, for 1.2k. Thanks for letting me know, by the way, how many viewers we did hit, because sometimes, because I'm in the flow of the stream and having to concentrate on watching the cars, sometimes I don't know for sure, you know, how many viewers we do have. So great to see that. Great to have that many people watching the stream. Right, let me find some more comments. Stephen asks, how many positions do you think Vettel can make up in the race? Well, from where he's starting from, I would say that he will probably finish in P5 if the top 4 finish and don't have any issues. I think Vettel will finish in P5 because his car is faster than Magnussen, the 2 Alphas, Norris and Gasly. So he'll beat them. But yeah, for the top 4, they'll finish ahead of Vettel for the simple reason that by the time Vettel gets past Magnussen, Norris, Raikkonen, Giovinazzi, Gasly, the top 4 will be too far ahead for him to get up to them. So yeah, Vettel is in for P5 at best if the top 4 finish the race. But of course, we'll see tomorrow. By the way, how great is it to have 3 different cars and 3 different engine suppliers in the top 3? Ferrari, Mercedes and Red Bull with Honda power. That is great to see. And whoever said Formula 1 was boring and one-sided. Yes, Mercedes have won every race this season, but do not count out Formula One for exciting qualifying and races, because as we've seen today, anything can happen in Formula One, and it usually does. Yes, that is a Murray Walker quote, but he's absolutely bang on when he says it. Right, let me find some other comments. Jay Crail says, got my predictions wrong and it's all good. I got mine wrong, and I'm happy I got mine wrong, because what we've had happen today is a lot better in terms of an entertainment point of view for tomorrow than I think my original one was. Mine was Hamilton to get pole from Leclerc second, Bottas in third. But we of course have Leclerc, Hamilton, Verstappen, then Bottas. And then the midfield ahead of Sebastian Vettel. But I think we are, guys, definitely in for a good race tomorrow. I think we are, because we have some drivers who are going to have to come through the field who do have significantly faster cars than other ones in the field, such as, of course, Vettel. I think Gasly also Carlos Sainz, Hulkenberg to a degree. So we are in for definite overtakes and battles tomorrow. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And I think because of the way this track is, it will be for sure a race tomorrow. Not a procession, a race. But let's see what you guys are saying. Herman, yes, Vettel finished P10. He got through to Q3, but then he had some kind of damage to his car, so he couldn't go out in the final part of qualifying. And that is a massive shame, because he could have been, and I think he would have been, at least in P3, because the Ferrari car has been so quick throughout qualifying, and you have to say this weekend. And also, big credit to Charles Leclerc for getting pole. Yes, the car is better suited to this track, but he still had to give it some to get it. 103.003 is the lap time he did, and that is a new track record, of course. And I'm currently seeing the lap, and it was very, very good. Ferrari definitely better suited to this track than it was France, and that's not a surprise. We knew that would happen. We knew Ferrari were going to be right up there for pole, and that's where they are. Gina says, if Max gets a 3-place penalty, it means Leclerc versus Max tomorrow. I don't think Max can honestly do that, because he doesn't have the car. I mean, he's done so well to get P3, but I don't think he has the car to get that kind of, you know, position or fight with those kinds of drivers. I think, honestly, Max Verstappen, his aim, based on qualifying, should be a podium, but most likely P3, because the top two have faster cars, and they are very fast drivers, so they will most likely sprint away, and Bottas will have a tough time getting past Max Verstappen. And if you look at last year's Italian Grand Prix, don't think that Bottas will fly past Verstappen, because again, as we saw at that race, despite having a much faster car, Max Verstappen was still able to keep ahead. Right, let me find some other comments. Jay Crail says, guys, what happened to Vettel? He had some damage to his floor, so he couldn't go out for qualifying 3. So that's why that happened. The heat tomorrow might cause some tyre issues. That's from Stephen Mooney. It will. It absolutely will. And it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with tyres, because Leclerc and Vettel and Gasly start on the soft tyres, and Hamilton, Bottas and Verstappen are on mediums, I believe. I'll have to make sure Verstappen was on mediums, but I believe he was. So Leclerc will start the race pretty quick, but then by the time he gets to his pit stop, he will be quite slow. He will definitely not be gaining time on Lewis Hamilton by, say, lap 10 or lap 15. And I think, honestly, the soft tyres in the heat at tomorrow's race, and it will be, by the way, a very hot race tomorrow, Leclerc is probably likely to pit, say lap 15, and then Hamilton, he will go till probably lap 30, and then put on the hard tyres, and then absolutely go for it, try and get the win at the end. So we are in for a very, very interesting race. You cannot doubt that whatsoever. But I'm about, guys, to show the final classification of qualifying. This will be the last real picture of the stream. So let me get rid of this and that. And let me now get this on screen for you guys. This has, of course, the lap times from qualifying as well. So, and you can see there, by the way, Verstappen, Hamilton and Bottas were on medium. So there you go. So, on pole position, by a quarter of a second, is Charles Leclerc. Second, Lewis Hamilton. Third is Max Verstappen. Fourth is Valtteri Bottas. Fifth is Kevin Magnussen. Sixth, Lando Norris. Seventh, Kimi Raikkonen. Eighth is Antonio Giovinazzi. Ninth, Pierre Gasly. And then P10 is Sebastian Vettel. And then knocked out in Q2 was Grosjean, Hülkenberg, Albon, Ricciardo and Sainz. And then knocked out in Q1 was Perez, Stroll, Kvyat, Russell and Kubica. Now, I'm not going to say yet where what the grid will be in terms of the people that do have penalties. For example, Kevin Magnussen, I've just remembered, has a 5-place grid penalty. If you don't know, Kevin Magnussen has a penalty for tomorrow's race because after practice 3, they had to put in a new gearbox into his car. So that's a shame for him, but at least he shows that the Haas car does have speed, and at least he's still in the top 10 starting for the race tomorrow. And then who else? Hülkenberg, he will start in, P15? Because Albon and Sainz have penalties. So Ricciardo will move up to 12th. Perez will move up. Stroll will move up. So that's not the grid. That's not the grid for the race. And also, we still have to see if Russell and Lewis Hamilton get a penalty for blocking in qualifying. We'll have to see with those investigations whether those drivers do get a penalty. And then, of course, we will know the final grid. If Hamilton, though, does get a penalty, it's likely to be a 3-place penalty, at worst a 5-place penalty. So if he does get a 3-place penalty, then Lando Norris will start P4, I believe, for the race. I don't know. We'll have to see. But, yeah, there you go. And now for the next 10 minutes, I'll read out your remaining comments, and then we'll get to the end of this stream. By the way, guys, just to let you know, in an hour from now, I will be uploading my review of qualifying. It'll be about 10 to 12 minutes long, and that'll be out in about an hour's time. I'll record it quickly after this stream finishes. And yeah, don't forget to come along to that and give your thoughts, your final thoughts on qualifying and what happened today on this very hot Saturday at the Red Bull Ring. By the way, hello to Spider Monkey, great to see you. 45596 96 says keep it up with these streams. I will. People are enjoying them and I'm getting plenty of viewers, so I'm definitely going to continue them. And yeah, it's definitely working out for us. By the way, hopefully we won't be too far away on Monday night from 6,000 subs. I'm not going to say whether we will get it because I'm not sure, but it would be great if by Monday night we had 6,000 subs. That would honestly be awesome. But of course, we'll see if that does happen or not. Rook Weeb says you're absolutely right about Gasly. Yeah, well, again, I have been proven to be correct. And also, look at the gap in lap time from Max Verstappen to Pierre Gasly. It's about 7/10 of a second. Yeah, about 7. It's actually about 7.5 tenths of a second. I'm sorry, that's not good enough. If he was a quarter of a second off, which I have said he should be, about quarter of a second off, then he would be P5. And that would be a good position for him to start, start with. So, I'm sorry, not good enough. And that video I made, if you haven't checked it out, I uploaded it a fortnight ago. It's a video about why Pierre Gasly should be dropped from Red Bull. It doesn't include the races in France or this weekend because it was uploaded right after Canada. But I think honestly that video is just being proven to be correct. And honestly, I didn't think when I made that video that I would be proven wrong on this. I didn't think I would, because I don't see the guy getting any better. I think how he was in Spain and Monaco is honestly the best he will be in that car against his teammate, because, again, he is just not good enough for Red Bull Racing. I'm sorry, to get out qualified by a Haas, a McLaren and 2 Alfa Romeos is not good enough at all. Right, I'm going to read out probably 2 to 3 more comments before the end of this stream, and then we'll come to the end. By the way, also, Spider Monkey just mentioned, and it is true, that the target for my channel is 10,000 subs at the end of this season. Hopefully, we can get that. Right, let me find some final comments. Aaron Carl says Max and Charles will make this a classic. Let me find a couple more comments. Francisco asks, do you agree that this was Magnussen's best quali performance ever? I'll have to compare it against the other ones, but this is definitely up there. I don't think we can doubt that. This is definitely up there as one of his best qualifying sessions of all time. And again, people need to start respecting the guy, because in qualifying, the guy's a beast. He's an absolute beast. And I guarantee you, if he was in a Red Bull, he would be right in there with Bottas on the grid. He really would, because he's that quick. Right, let me find a couple more. Bert Ram says, so say Hamilton does get a 3-place penalty. Who says he still can't win the race or finish on the podium? Don't think for a second Hamilton just wants to hand the victory to them. Well, yeah, if Hamilton qualifies, or not qualifies, if he gets dropped back, then he can still win, but it does make that job of doing so a lot harder. It really does. So I think if he doesn't get a penalty, then his chances of winning are very, very good. But if he gets dropped back to P5, then his chances aren't slim, but they're not good or great, because, he has his teammate ahead of him, who of course will not let him through because they're competing for the Drivers' Championship. And then Verstappen will be there fighting away as hard as he can to get a podium finish. So I think Hamilton will be on the podium tomorrow, penalty or not. But we'll just have to see how his race goes if he does or does not, of course, have a penalty. And the final comment goes to Kenyon, and it's a question. Can Max Verstappen win tomorrow? I don't think he can. I think if he capitalizes on, reliability and mistakes from team or driver like he did last year to win, then yeah. But because the Red Bull still is not quick enough to compete for a win, I'm going to have to say no. But again, if we have a similar race than last year where teams, drivers make mistakes and reliability issues happen, then it could absolutely happen. And it would be great to see Max up there fighting, of course, for the race win. But guys, that has been it for this qualifying watch along for the 2019 Austrian Grand Prix. Thank you guys for coming along and being part of this stream. Great to have every single one of you along, and hopefully you will come back for the race watch along tomorrow. We will be live at 1 PM UK time, so don't forget to come along to that. We'll do an hour's build up, then of course the race. Nib hopefully should be along for that, and then of course we'll do a reaction for half an hour after the race finishes, and then there will be a race review about 45 minutes after that for the race in Austria. But don't forget as well to check out the qualifying review coming out in about 45 minutes from now. That'll be uploaded very, very soon. But yeah, don't forget to subscribe. Bottom right of the screen you can, or go to my homepage, subscribe and hit the notifications bell. Also smash the like if you want to see content on this channel like this continue. And also comment down below what you thought of this video, and comment down below what do you think of qualifying and what are your thoughts going into the race tomorrow. Also, don't forget to join our Discord server, link below in the description. That is the best place for notifications of my videos and streams. So if you want notifications of my videos and streams, you have to join the Discord server. Link below is in the description. Also, it's the best part of my community, really, is the Discord server. We have almost 300 people in that server. And also follow me on Twitter at Chaz6110 and check out my website chazahd.com for more content like this. But guys, until the race watch along tomorrow for a very hot 2019 Austrian Grand Prix, it has been me, ChazHD. Goodbye.